Hello, we are live. My name is Jerry Cabazito from Soundpath.org, and I am very excited to welcome a very special guest and Soundpath.org headliner, Prezence. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Jerry. It's good to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm such a huge fan of your work. All of us at Soundpath are, and we're also excited to see you with 33, aka Derek Bros, who's
Yeah,
also going to be headlining on August 31st in Pennsylvania.
it's going to be a good time. I'm really excited to be there, uniting with other natural law focused musicians. It should be great.
Absolutely. And, when I first approached you about, joining our lineup, you had said that natural law, Mark Passio's work in particular was very influential in your music. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So I have been making music my whole life, but it wasn't until around 2020 when the lockdowns and everything started and all the COVID BS started that I felt inspired to start making music that's more focused on delivering a message of truth and freedom and love and all of that kind of stuff. And I'd been listening to Mark Passio probably since around 2015, 2016, around that time frame. That was when I started to wake up to the deeper truths, beyond just the basic level truths. I started waking up to the actual, what he calls the causal factors of the reason we're in the situation that we're in. And that's something that very few other people talk about is the causal factors of why we're in this system of slavery, which is that people don't understand fundamental moral, principles, and we don't actually live by any fundamental moral principles. We're just willing to, take the word of politicians and whatever's written down on a piece of paper and signed by a bunch of politicians, and then we accept that as being law when it's actually immoral most of the time. And so that was kind of around 2016. And then during 2020, when the lockdown started, I was running a business, managing Airbnbs, which I'm still doing to this day. It's given me a lot of financial freedom to pursue my passions for music. But I was also feeling very depressed because I didn't really have any sort of contribution to the truth movement in any kind of way. I was listening to people like Derek Bros. I was listening to people like Max Egan. I was listening to people like Mark Passio, and everybody was speaking the truth and in calling the COVID scam out for what it was from the beginning. And I knew on the day that I heard about COVID that it was a total scam. But yeah, I was just kind of sitting on my couch one day watching Mark Passio, What on Earth is Happening live stream, and he was really hammering on people who are aware of the truth but aren't actually doing anything to spread the truth. He was saying
Right.
to know and not to act is not to know or care, which is a phrase that I integrated into one of my lyrics in a song called Realign. And that phrase really stuck with me. And I was like, wow, if I'm not actually doing anything with this knowledge of the truth, and I'm just sitting here on my couch listening to Mark Passio speak the truth, but I'm not actually doing anything to push the truth out there on my own, then I'm actually part of the problem. And I'm actually worse than the people who are completely ignorant, as how he put it, is if you're aware of the truth, but you're not actually doing anything about it, you're actually in a worse off position karmically than the people who are aware of the truth, but the people who are just, simply ignorant of it in the first place, because you actually, once you become aware and you become awakened, then you have a responsibility to do something about it. So that's the long story short of how I started making this music. And yeah, during that lockdown period, my Airbnb business was shut down and I wasn't able to actually make any money, and I was feeling pretty stressed out. I lost a bunch of Airbnb reservations with, the drop of a hat. Airbnb just cleared my entire calendar from like 40 grand worth of reservations. Fortunately, I was in a position that I was able to make it through that situation. But that was when I had all this time on my hands suddenly, and I was like, I have to make some truth music. And so that was the beginning of the project Prezence. I started off collaborating with my next door neighbor, King David James, and we did an album together. And then since about 2021, with my release of my song Scam, I've been a solo artist, traveling the world, touring, playing these shows that usually are focused on, some kind of shared value system, some kind of shared moral principle. That's typically the types of events that I like to play at. So Soundpath is perfectly in line with that, and just happy to be joining you for that. So it should be great.
Awesome. And I don't want to, I'm sure people in the audience want to actually hear you play. So, um, is maybe we could just talk in between songs. Did you
Sure,
want to
yeah.
play Realign live
Yeah, sure.
or?
Yeah,
Yay. Okay,
let's
here
do
we
it.
go.
All right.
Choosing to realign ourselves
With the divine, yeah. And choosing to realign ourselves with the divine, yeah.
mind control.
I know my heart center is truly masterful, yes. When I choose to realign.
Choose to realign.
Oh, I'm tired of being silenced by the fear of ridicule. It's time to rise up like a lion and to speak the truth. Because to know and not to act is not to know or care. Gotta do my part in declaring awareness into the air, unto the ether. For those who know it's time to become leaders, keepers, speakers, teachers of sacred knowledge. To all who are still sleeping, upgrading consciousness, suffocating them with lawlessness. Truth and love are synonymous, situations ominous, but I won't remain anonymous though. You ain't never gonna mute this throat chakra, fully opening the words flow like a lava. Man, they gonna be bound by dogma. Then we can evade natural law or karma. Typogram all the propaganda, raise our brain waves in the gamma. Wage slaves breaking cages, disengaging the limitations. Cubicles are the new plantation. Are you on the same page? Do you understand? Ego out of the way, spirit engage. Mind control slaves, feeling enraged. Ego can't handle the triple vibrations, but I got no patience for their frustration, and never not given to their temptation. We must end all government regulation. Conscious life is the real education. Anybody who subscribes to an institutionalized belief system is under mind control, yes. Anybody who subscribes to an institutionalized belief system is under mind control, yeah. When I choose to realign to my inner guidance, I know my heart center is truly masterful, yes. When I choose to realign, yo, do you deserve to be put into an institution? Well, let me get in here and dispel some major illusion. Your chief religion, binding, grinding your mind to a halt. When you default to politics, then you got played like a fiddle. Here's a little riddle, you think you got swindled? Paying them taxes, getting crippled, then your bank account dwindled. Don't like it? Let me come at you with the missiles. Just because a little bit of scribble on a piece of paper, underneath a little bit of Satanism, symbolism, underneath a little bit of communism, euphemism, sound legit. To some dead-ass criminals, sign your initials on the dotted line, hand us your rights. No, your bitch asses won't put up a fight. We got the guns and we coming for yours. We will force you into funding our wars. Kick the rubber first, due process second. Don't ask no questions if you get threatened. We lock you in a cage, lock you in a cage. Say, so we choosing to realign ourselves with the divine, yeah. You know, cause we choosing to realign ourselves with the divine, yeah. Okay, anybody who subscribes to an institutionalized belief system is under mind control, yes. Anybody who subscribes to an institutionalized belief system is under mind control, yes. When I choose to realign to my inner guidance, I know my heart center is truly masterful, yes. When I choose to realign. You can sing this along with me if you're at home, you know. Sing it. That's why we choosing to realign ourselves with the divine.
Choosing to realign ourselves.
Oh yeah, choosing to realign ourselves with the divine, with the divine, with the divine, with the divine. Oh yeah, choosing to realign ourselves with the. Oh yes, we choosing to realign ourselves. Oh yeah, choosing to realign us. Oh with the divine. Oh with the divine. Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I was like dancing and singing along to that. That's like one of my favorite songs of yours.
Yes,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about the making of that song, how that song came about for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that the lyrics of that song was originally written for a different beat, and I wrote those lyrics on a mushroom journey. I was tripping on a pretty heavy dose of mushrooms, and I was looking up at the night sky and this beautiful, beautiful night sky out in Colorado, and the mushrooms started to get really intense. It started coming on really strong, and so I went home and I went into my studio and I just started writing, and pretty much all the lyrics just came out in one go. I didn't really have to edit them or anything. It just like all came through on that mushroom journey. And then I sat on them for a while because I wasn't really that happy with the original beat that I had written them for. And then when I moved to Sedona, shortly after I released my song Scam, I was working on a beat, which is the one you just heard there. And then I realized that the lyrics fit perfectly over that beat. And so that was when I recorded that. And that was the first song that I released as on this solo project after Scam. So yeah, that song's really meaningful to me because, as I said before, that was a lot of that was inspired by Passio's work. You know, the line, anybody who subscribes to an institutionalized belief system is under mind control. That's a really heavy-hitting line, and it's not really something you'd normally hear on like a hook of a pop song or a reggae song. You know, it's like it kind of, people hear that and they're like, whoa, like that's pretty intense, that's pretty out there. But the idea for me is to infuse these kinds of messages with, you know, things that you wouldn't normally hear as the hook of a, you know, pop song or reggae song, and infuse it with a really intense, you know, hard-hitting message of truth. And, you know, when Passio said that, he was specifically referring to like any institution, whether it's a government institution, whether it's an educational institution, whether it is some kind of a, you know, academic, or whether it's political, whether it's religious, organized religion. He was, you know, going across the board and defining all of these different institutions that we give away our power to. And so that song is kind of about how we can reclaim our power of our heart center, you know, of our intuition, and reclaim that from the institutions. And so, yeah, thanks for listening.
Oh my gosh, it's so great to hear you talk about your music because I feel like I get more out of the song for my next listen. So thank you. Um, yeah, I'm kind of curious, like what instruments or equipment do you have there? It looks like you have like a drum kit or like a
Yeah. I have I don't know how much of it is showing up because it looks like it's cropping some of it, but I have my drum kit over here, and then over here I have, this is my electronic drum kit. It's a Roland SPD, and it has pedals for kick and hi-hat control and a little snare pad. So this is what I use a lot of the time to program acoustic drum sounds, because actually it's a lot of work to mic up a full acoustic drum kit and actually make it sound as good as some of the samples that you can use when you're producing. So a lot of times I just use this for making my drum sounds. And then this stuff that you see in front of me here, this is what I use for my live set. So this is a Novation Launchpad, which is where I can launch my tracks. And then I'm also going to be doing some looping, some live looping at the at Soundpath. So this is what I use to like launch my loops. And then I got my keyboard here, which pulls out on this tray. And this is a nice 88 key. And then this is a Launch Control XL. This is basically a MIDI mixer control surface. And so this is what I use to like add all these crazy dub effects to my vocal and stuff like that.
Awesome. And speaking of dub effects, you will be on tour with dub effects this fall. Could you talk more about that?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I've announced it a little bit, but I need to be announcing it more and plugging it more. So thanks for the opportunity. I'm going to be joining Dub Effects. He's a legendary street performer turned festival headliner, amazing international artist. And we've become friends in the last, year or so, thanks to Derek inviting me out to People's Reset UK, which he was also headlining, and then People's Reset in Morelia, Mexico. And then we all did a tour together this summer, going from all over the Western United States up into Canada. And yeah, Dub Effects, Benji, he was gracious and kind enough to ask me to join him on this European tour. We're going to be doing about 32 shows all the way from Eastern Europe to Western Europe, and then finishing off in the UK. So I'm extremely grateful for that opportunity, and yeah, it's really heartwarming to see that an independent artist like him is recognizing another independent artist, myself, and taking me under his wing. Because as many of you know out there, it's really difficult, especially when you're speaking these kinds of messages that fly in the face of the governmental and the power structures. Most of the time when I put things out, it kind of just drops with a thud, and all of the social media platforms censor everything that I put out. I still get like 200 views when I put out like a full live performance or a music video a lot of the time, even though, clearly if you look at the comments and you look at the engagement, clearly there's actually a lot more people watching it and a lot more people engaging with it, but all of my numbers are being throttled and censored. So anyways, all that to say, thanks so much to Benji DubFX for being kind and gracious enough to take a smaller independent artist under his wing and hopefully give me a lot of exposure to a lot of beautiful, open-minded people, which I already know that's what his audience is comprised of, a lot of beautiful, open-minded, awakened individuals. So it's just going to be a really beautiful opportunity. If you want to get tickets to the tour, you can go to my website, prezencemusic.com, or you can go to dubfx.com, and the tickets are all available there, and you can see all the dates. So looking forward to that.
Awesome. And my partner, St. John, is giving me a reminder that we are also doing a fundraiser for all the Soundpath artists online and in person who want to take Mark Passio's How to Become the True Media.com class to up their game when it comes to technology, getting the word out on, your art. And so, yeah, if people want to donate to Soundpath, donate to the artists directly for their education, donate for the Soundpath for a ticket for you headliners, or go to prezencemusic.com to watch Prezence on tour. Either way, any of those ways, we want to support artists like you because you're the real deal. I just know it through your music. You directly reference natural law. I don't know many artists besides you and like the other, handful of headliners that we have, it's really not that big a movement yet in music. I do see it growing though, and I do see, the fact that you're going, on tour with WebX as a sign that like people are starting to notice what we're up to as a movement. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I also have noticed that, so Derek originally connected with DubFX back in like 2013 or 2012, and that was how he originally established that connection. And then when he invited Dub to come out to the People's Reset, he was amazed by like the quality of individuals of all of these, types of people. He's toured the world many, many times over, and I think it says a lot about this movement that he is willing to like invest his energy into this grassroots movement because he can feel the quality and the consciousness of the individuals who are involved with what we're doing. And yeah, so that's awesome to hear that we're doing a fundraiser to help people get into the How to Become the True Media. I saw that was also a part of Autonomy. Some of you guys might be familiar with Autonomy. I wanted to give them a shout out. That's Richard Grove's educational program, which is also a educational entrepreneurial program based in natural law teachings as well. I know Mark Passio's been involved with that too, and probably a lot of the people who are tuning into this. So yeah, I wanted to give them a shout out too, because they're doing really good work on trying to educate people on how they can, build real value in the market. That, capitalism isn't evil like we've been programmed to believe. That capitalism is just a voluntary exchange of goods and services. And if we learn how to use that to our advantage, like I have, for example, with my Airbnb business, we can leverage our resources and our time more effectively so that we can make a bigger impact on the world. So yeah, shout out to Autonomy as well, because I know they're also trying to spread this education and, empower people to get out there and not just be consumers of information on natural law, but also teachers of information on natural law. So
Absolutely. And my de, de facto partner in arms slash producer, partner John St. John, who runs artgardens.net, is reminding me that Soundpath is also giving away a free ticket to Mark Passio's Shadowwork seminar, which is scheduled November 22nd online all day, pretty much on Telegram. We're hosting this because, like Dub Effects for You, Mark Passio has been supporting us and kind of taking us under his wing, and endorsing our work. We have an amazing interview coming up with him on Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So for folks that are checking out this interview, come check out that interview exclusive with Mark Passio. So yeah, same like you. I'm just very humbled by, bigger name influencers taking notice, like, Derek Rose, involving, you. I really wanted you and 33 Derek Rose to be on this lineup. And the fact that we were all able to manifest that is just like, oh, like I'm just like
Yeah,
so
we're
happy.
stoked. It's going to be great. Yeah, we're super excited. And
Yeah.
that's cool about the shadow work seminar. I might have to grab a ticket to that myself. That sounds like a really interesting one. I would actually say that like if you have some kind of creative gift to share, I would say that's the biggest form of doing the shadow work that I have come across. Like I've done a lot of different things from psychedelics to meditation to yoga and all kinds of different things, journaling. And I found that the thing that improves my mental state the most and helps me to integrate my shadow the most is actually sitting down and doing the hard work of writing music and producing music and doing what I feel like I'm creatively here to do. And yeah, actually, that when I wrote that song "Realign" that I just played, like I was in such a dark state of consciousness when I wrote that song, and then that was, transformed into this beauty, this jewel of a song that I can take with me for the rest of my life and probably into future lifetimes because I think that music transcends this body. So yeah, I would just say to people out there who are listening, if you do feel like you have some kind of gift to share, I just want to encourage people to get creative and use your creative gifts in whatever way that you know how. Whether it's painting, music, drawing, whether it's organizing people, whether it's putting together events, whether it's, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be like producing music. That's just my outlet. But I think that doing that kind of work, it does require discipline. Like even now I still have trouble sometimes like showing up and sitting down at the table and like putting myself to work. It requires discipline, but that discipline ends up leading to freedom because it gives you the opportunity to integrate your shadow through the creative expression. So yeah, just some words of encouragement to other people out there who maybe feel like they have something to share and maybe they have been on the fence and maybe are waiting to get activated. If maybe you feel like you're waiting for the perfect time, for the perfect opportunity to come up, or you feel like you're not ready yet, it's like, no, just get into it. Just get into the mud, get your hands dirty and start working. You'll be amazed at, yeah, the sacrifice it takes to care is what hits. That's what Chris said. Yeah, big up, Chris. Yeah, so anyways, that's kind of that thought.
Yeah, I loved everything you said, and shout out to Chris Jansen for hosting Soundpath.org organizers last night. Was it last night? I'm like losing track of time. And also, I wanted to thank my partner St. John, who's telling me to remember to announce that ticket prices are going to increase from the original 33 before we signed up. Prezence. Tatiana Moros, who's a huge country singer, has several albums behind her, Great Truth and Freedom Lyrics, and Apotheosis, an indie rock duo from New York. So because we went from 5 to 8 headliners, we're really having to increase the time at the venue, which costs money from Soundpath's, end. And so, to prove this proof of concept business, we have to, raise ticket prices, but we want to give you time to take advantage of the ticket prices we have now. So check out soundpath.org. And what should we play next?
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't know.
know. If you have any requests, let me know. But yeah, I think definitely support these guys. I offered to come on and donate this performance because I feel like it's very rare to see people putting together a event that's specifically catering to music that is focusing on natural law particularly. So I think this is a really important thing for people to support this. If you believe in this message and this music, please jump on, grab a ticket. Even if you can't make it in person, donate a ticket would be awesome. And because this is helping to get the word out there, this is helping to bring people together from diverse backgrounds who are all committed to spreading the truth. So, yeah, hopefully this can really make a difference. And if this is a successful event, we can continue to do more of these. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm sort of reflecting on everything you said about shadow work, your own journey, and trying to inspire others to do their right action, whether that looks like music, running their own festival, doing their own presentations, whatever. It's really up to changing ourselves. And so I'm thinking, would you be able to play that song today?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet.
To change the world, we got to change ourselves. To change the world, we got to change ourselves now. To change the world, yeah, we got to change ourselves. To change the world, yeah, we got to change ourselves. We got to stop playing a victim, take some responsibility for our lives. We got to stop causing harm and let this most fundamental truth shine bright. We got to know that we are inextricably connected. Our actions affect the freedom of the collective. Respect that when behavior is aligned with the correct intention, society will experience redemption. To change the world right now, we got to change ourselves. To change the world, we got to change ourselves now. To change the world, yeah, we got to change ourselves. To change the world, yeah, we got to change ourselves. Because a right is an action which does not cause harm to another sentient being on this plane. Respect that every human interaction must be voluntary, otherwise it is coercion, pain. We got to know morality is not subjective. Distinguishing right from wrong is objective. Respect that our creator gives us natural law directive and won't accept no acts of aggression. To change the world, we got to change ourselves. To change the world, we got to change ourselves now. To change the world, yeah, we got to change ourselves. Here at Soundpath, to change the world, yeah, we got to change ourselves. Well, are you going to compromise your integrity for the fear of making other people angry now? Are you going to compromise your integrity for the fear of making other people angry now? Are you going to compromise your integrity for the fear of making other people angry now? Are you going to compromise your integrity for the fear of making other people angry now? Are you going to compromise your integrity for the fear of making other people angry now? Are you going to compromise your integrity for the fear of making other people angry? Are you going to compromise your integrity for the fear of making other people angry now? Are you going to compromise your integrity for the fear of making other people angry? To change the world, we got to change ourselves from the inside. To change the world, yeah, we got to change ourselves and do the shadow work. To change the world, we got to change ourselves. You know, to change the world, yeah, we got to change we got to change ourselves. We got to change ourselves. We got to change ourselves. We got to change ourselves.
Oh my God, that was amazing. Again, guys, for that are listening, check out Prezence and 33, aka Derek Bros, and our other headliners, either for free online or in person. Tickets on sale for $33 today only. So get them while they're affordable. And yes, changing ourselves, that's the key. How you talked a little bit about your shadow work process for yourself, but as a content creator, as a musician, as an artist, um, well, I will say that I struggle with feeling a certain level of frustration because like it is up to ourselves on an individual level, but everyone else's choices collectively are kind of affecting us. So, how do we deal with that yeah, that polarization, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's definitely something that I've felt as well, is like, yeah, we can do the inner work, but at the same time, there's all this stuff happening out there, and the ignorance of the masses is contributing to this collective enslavement system. I guess I could share one example, something that's been happening in my local community recently. There's been a push to install these flock surveillance cameras all over my local town. They're basically manufactured by a company called Flock, which has investment ties to Palantir, and they are a automatic license plate reader, ALPR technology that basically just scans your license plate, and then it's a form of surveillance because they can track and trace everybody in this town, where they're going. And these things have been rolled out silently through police departments and cities all across the country as a part of, the big, beautiful bill. It's so beautiful, isn't it? Mass surveillance. I love it. It's so beautiful. I love it. It's so beautiful. So yeah, flock safety. Yeah, thanks for putting the link down there. But anyways, this is one of those things where the ignorance of the masses is leading the city to be able to just install this right under our nose. There wasn't even a public vote. There was no public hearing or anything like that. And my girlfriend and I found out about this, and we got pretty upset, and we decided that we were going to do something about it. So we started to, post things and raise awareness in the local Facebook groups and community groups and the Telegram. And a lot of people, there was some other people who were aware of it too, and people were pissed off, rightfully so, about this. And we actually showed up at the city council meeting. There probably wouldn't have been the city council meeting if people hadn't stood up for this. But because people did stand up, then there was a city council meeting to kind of like allow the public to speak on the issue. I went and spoke. I'm going to be posting a clip of my speech at the city council on my YouTube channel probably in the next couple days, and there was probably 15 people in total who spoke, and the vast majority of people were against this technocratic surveillance technology. And we actually swayed the city council to, shut down the cameras, and so they've been shut down, and further notice is going to be hopefully to actually have them fully removed and have the contract with this private for-profit corporation canceled altogether. But, I feel like this is one of those things where it's like we are more powerful than we think. And I got to give a shout out to Mr. Bros. I think he's listening in because, he has been doing this kind of grassroots activism for many, many years, far before, many of us, and actually just getting out there and figuring out how like we can actually make a real difference in our communities. And when we do that inner shadow work, we realize that we're actually more powerful than we think. And we realize that it's not all just doomer, black pill shit. And we can actually get out there and we can actually make a difference. And so, yeah, give a shout out to Derek, also to Jason Bassler of Free Thought Project, who's been doing a lot of good work on spreading, good information about Palantir and, Whitney Webb and all the people who have been kind of exposing this technocratic takeover of the United States. Because this is really this is kind of like the final frontier of the control system, in my opinion. Like once they have the 5G grid fully installed, once they have, full surveillance all over the United States, and they have facial recognition, and they have AI basically replacing government, and AI is going to be making the decisions that the government once made because it's so fair and impartial, right? Even though it was programmed by a bunch of psychopaths. But, we're moving rapidly towards that kind of thing. And if we want to actually put a stop to this, we need to get activated, and we need to actually get out in our own communities and figure out how we can raise awareness and put a stop to this technocratic technology. The next thing I'm going to be doing is ditching my freaking iPhone and getting an above phone from my friend Hakeem, who works on creating these privacy-focused phones that are de-Googled phones that make it impossible for you to be tracked. So that's another good thing that you can do. But there's so many things we can actually do, right? And I think that when we start to do the shadow work and we start to peel apart the layers of programming and the disempowerment that's been put on us as a program on purpose, we've been purposefully disempowered by the system. So when we can reclaim our power through that shadow work, then we can actually go out in the world and make a meaningful difference. So I think it's kind of one and the same, even though it seems like sometimes, yeah, there's a lot of, order followers out there just doing their thing, right? But yeah, how we interact with the system from a consciousness level also dictates a lot about how I kind of view this whole paradigm that we're in, this whole realm. It's kind of like a big multi-dimensional hologram. And the consciousness level that we approach reality with dictates the kind of response that we get. Like people say the eyes are projectors for what's in the head and things of that nature. And I had an experience recently where I was on tour with Dub FX. We were crossing the border into Canada, and we forgot, my girlfriend and I forgot that we had some mescaline gummies in a labeled bag in the car. We completely forgot about it. And the next thing we knew, we were being searched and held up for like an hour and a half. They arrested me, put me in a cage for like 45 minutes, and were trying to intimidate the shit out of us. And all of us kind of realized that our only hope of getting out of that situation was to just raise our vibration as much as possible. So I was like in the cell just having this crazy meditation, and then my girlfriend was doing the same outside, and Benji Dub FX we were all just like meditating together. And the next thing I knew, the tune of these authoritarian order followers completely shifted from like total control and domination to like, oh, we're going to get you guys out of here as soon as we possibly can. All right, there was no all the charges were dropped, no charges. They got us on our way, and boom, we were off, and they even let us into the country, and we still made it to our show that we were on our way to. So I really think that these kind of experiences have helped me realize that the frequency of consciousness that I bring on a daily basis impacts the way that the rest of the hologram and even the quote-unquote NPCs, how we're going to all interact. So when we heal, we actually heal other people through our frequency, and they always say, hurt people, So if we don't do that healing, then we're going to continue to, catalyze and accelerate all of the trauma that exists in the world. So, yeah, exactly. Mentalism, correspondence, exactly. So that's exactly what it is, Nathan. Yep.
I loved everything you said, and I'm definitely noticing in my own personal journey, as well as a sort of public-facing organizer, that there's been a confluence, which you performed at as a
Amazing
festival.
event, by the way. Highly recommend. Yeah, Alex Zek and the whole confluence. Oh my gosh, amazing event. Super high vibe. So yeah, just wanted to
Cool.
shout out that.
Yeah, I definitely want to go next time. Yeah, so in my sort of public facing role, I'm running a music festival to sort of help educate and awaken humanity, but in the background I'm dealing with order followers, taking my kids, finding out that my attorney that I fired and that my ex's attorney and the judge are all part of a black robe society. And so we've been followed by police. My partner was arrested at one point. Like, it's been a nightmare, but I totally vibe with what you're saying, that like even when the pressure's on, when it comes to this getting this music festival done and like getting my kids back that were taken away, like I'm just trying to just remain centered, and I keep doing tarot cards, and I keep getting like the Ace of Wands. You know what I mean? I just trying to like remain morally principled and just doing the right thing, the next right thing, and that's been guiding me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and when I was sharing those stories, it's not to say that like there aren't real people having their rights actually violated. It's just that I feel like when our rights are being violated, that is the time when we even more so have to like step up to the plate with our frequency and realize that we have a responsibility to we have the ability to shift that situation rather than being in, like, if we're in a victim consciousness, we're powerless. So yeah, like a lot of my lyrics too are about kind of transcending that victim consciousness, because that's one of the main programs that's running in the collective is like, oh yeah, you're just a victim. Everything is happening to you instead of happening for you. When you can shift to things are happening for me instead of to me, then we can realize that, you know, we're actually calling in this experience. And yeah, it sucks having your rights violated. It happens to a lot of people, and especially in the freedom movement. So yeah, I hope, yeah, and the CPS type stuff and the trafficking of children and the shadow around the way that the system wants to oppress children is one of the darkest parts of the shadow. So definitely not trying to like sidestep that or overlook that. So I'm sorry you're dealing with that. And I'll be praying that they leave you alone and that you can continue to live your life as a peaceful servant of the Most High.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking, you know, with all our talk about psyops, scams, maybe one of those songs next. What are you thinking?
Yeah, let's do a psyop rendition. I'm not doing any looping right now because I actually just put all my tracks into my looping set yesterday. So I have this button here. The red one is all of my looper stuff, and then the blue one is all of my tracks. But yeah, I wanted to be able to do both in the same setup. So I'm just doing the tracks today because it takes a lot longer to build the whole loop. So if you want to see me actually loop some of my beats off from scratch, please come to Soundpath, tune into Soundpath. But here's a rendition of Psyop. Whoops, holy.
Social media deliver propaganda.
Chanting down all of the Siam.
Alright, okay. Another
False flag now, yeah.
A possibility the people stop buying into the puppet tray. Embrace a life fulfilled by what's in harmony with the false selection. Use discretion, find perfection of our honesty. Honest with ourselves right now. If we honest with ourselves, we see theater for the masses at play. We got to call the curtain, all determine what to do and what is right for we. It's called
self-responsibility.
Disengage from the world as a stage. We got to channel our rage into productivity. We got to know absolute instead of relativity. Gotta lose attachment to emotional negativity. We got to disengage from the publicity of all the actors, actresses who put us in harm's way. We got to stop the worship of human sacrifice. Bed if I please the fire on Babylon and their conspiracy. They coming with another psyop stage, another false flag plan. False flag plan, say. And the first casualty of war is the truth, and we ignoring the scam. Ignoring all the scams, right? So we keep on shouting from the rooftop. Disengage from Instagram. Instagram, hey. Social media deliver propaganda to the palm of your hand. You know,
Social media deliver propaganda to the palm of your hand.
all right. Media already admitted to all the facts. Damage a little fact sandwich between a couple pieces of lies on toast. COVID misdiagnosed. A big nothing burger reduce a population with injected murder. Public somehow forgotten that MAGA really meant Jabba catastrophe. Clear people out of the street, soon replaced by a new definition. American idiot shit. And in diapers can formulate a sentence without a script to write it. One false flag to the next. Look to your right, now look to your left. No free speech on Twitter or X. And a car gonna wreck when you drive or you text. Where to find a way jump from a thing to the next. Then ejaculate to porn up sex. Everybody compete for the baddest flex. Get a new iPhone cause it got better. So perplexed, people haven't learned yet. Government only give lies and press. Run a hamster wheel from your birth to your death. Gotta work to your sweat, gotta pay that debt. Stop, meditate and calm your breath. Stop, meditate and calm your breath. Stop, meditate and calm your breath. Because they coming with another psyop stage. Another false flag plan. False flag plan, say. First casualty of war is and we ignoring the scam. Ignoring all the scams, right? So we keep on shouting from the rooftop. Disengage from Instagram.
Oh my gosh, I was like dancing. Your music is just danceable, dude. Like,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, I really like the way you play with rhythms in your rhyming, where you like take the time and you cut it up and like make it really like quick, like with the like your rapping. Um, it's just you were playing with time basically with your
Thank
music. I
you.
mean, all musicians do, but you in particular, I noticed that very very much, and great lyrics. You want to talk a little bit more about that song and how it came about?
Yeah, thanks so much. That song. Whew, yeah. I mean, a lot of this stuff, I would say, like, again, it's kind of about the shadow work. A lot of these songs came from me being frustrated with the system in the way it is, and then wanting to channel that, like the lyric channel our rage into productivity. You know, we have this rage around what's going on. And I know Passio does that. He channels his rage into his productivity. So he's able to, channel that rage, the sacred gift of anger, and then use it for something that can make a difference. So that song was very much along those lines. And there was a lot of references to, the political left and right and how they're able to just constantly swing this pendulum back and forth. And, for example, with this whole surveillance system that people like Derek Bros and, Ryan of The Last American Vagabond and Whitney Webb, all the people who have been sounding the alarm on this, if this had happened, for example, under Biden's watch, everybody on the right wing, would have been outraged. Oh, they're rolling out this Chinese style communist, technocratic AI control system. But of course, what they do is they sway public opinion away from Biden. Biden created the immigrant problem, and then they sway people to the right, and now everybody wants to get all these illegal immigrants out who are just people trying to live their lives. There's actually been people getting arrested in my neighborhood right here in Sedona by the immigration people, the immigration order followers, deporting people, ruining people's lives right here in my own town. But again, the whole point is that if it was happening under the left wing, then everybody would be against it. But then when they can swing the pendulum conveniently to the right, now Trump is able to get away with rolling out this technocratic surveillance system because it's a part of, we got to clear out these immigrants. We got to, restore our, big daddy government from the mommy government that we had before, right? And so by shifting the pendulum back and forth, look to your right, now look to your left, they're always able to distract people from the core fundamental issues of our rights being taken away and our rights being violated. And so that song is really about that and how we just have to stay focused on what is true and what is right instead of the constant propaganda and also the constant, with the smartphones and the social media that's constantly delivering this stream of dopamine hits. Most of the time it's negative dopamine hits that people are addicted to, especially in the truth movement. All the black pill stuff is just all this darkness and all this negativity that's just flooding in and hijacking our dopamine response. And, the impulses to constantly be buying and consuming and shopping and constantly be, feeding into all this is what's distracting us from the core issues of right and wrong and morality, which is actually so simple. And so if we can clear out all that noise, then we can focus on what's simple. And that's kind of the whole meaning behind that song, Psyop. So.
Love it. We have maybe 10-ish more minutes. Shall we do one more song?
Sure, let's do it.
What are you feeling like?
Let's see. Let's do this Free Ross song. So I recently had the opportunity to get High Res, who's a major rapper, on this track, thanks to my friend Kenny. Kenny put together an album for Ross Ulbricht, who, if you're not familiar with him, he was sentenced to 2 life sentences, which I don't even know how that's possible, plus 50 years. So if he was able to live 2 lifetimes like a cat and then live another 50 years on top of that, that's how long he would have been in prison for the absolute horrendous crime of creating a free Bitcoin market known as the Silk Road. And so I created this song and was lucky enough to feature High Res on the second verse. This one's called Free Ross Now, and there's a whole album out that we actually released just days before Ross was actually pardoned. That was one of the only things that Trump actually kept his promise on, was that he pardoned Ross, thank God. So this man is actually free now. And so this song is really meaningful to me, especially because I feel like, again, you know, it's absolutely terrible when there's people being locked up for victimless crimes, but with healthy activism that's directed with positive intention, like what my friend Kenny did and everybody who was involved with this album, I actually feel like this maybe made a small difference in up-leveling the frequency of the collective field so that he could actually be pardoned and so that Trump was held accountable to his promise. So this one's Free Ross Now.
We have brought a taste of freedom and equality to far corners of the world.
Yeah, we got to right the wrong. Free Ross, free Ross, free Ross now. Yes, we got to right the wrong. He's been locked up now for far too long. Up in a cage for a victimless crime. Dirty government, I never give him no dime. See them lock up peaceful people all of the time. Is the real reason civilization on the decline. Nobody can recite the proper definition of a right action which it doesn't harm another sentient life. Man was treated like he killed a couple hundred with a knife. Deprive him of his rights for building freedom on a website. Proper man who create the free market economy. Propaganda claiming that we live in a democracy. Sounds like hyperbole, hypocrisy, dishonesty with a double life sentence for protecting our privacy. Ain't nothing they can ever do to change my philosophy. And never gonna stop until he free from the atrocity. Only wanted to protect our freedom and equality. Mobilize Bitcoin and the onion by necessity. Yeah, we got to right the wrong. Free Ross now, free Ross now. Yes, we got to right the wrong. He's been locked up now for far too long.
I want you to understand what it means to lose your freedom. But first, let's talk about Bitcoin.
Rez, where you at?
Taxation is theft. Every time we cash in them checks, the government printing more, arresting those who contest and try to mess with the Fed. CBDCs have been here. D-Bank, you want you in fear. There's chemicals in the air. Both sides are in on it. Want you to go depend on it. Throw some fake charges at him. You know that I've been on it. Free Ross till he free. Ain't do nothing but believe in a system where we can thrive with no technocratic beasts. All those opposing God think that they're invincible. Think that they control the game, have no principles. Promise there's a place in hell for traitors and corruption. Ross lost 10 years just because it told she went and screwed the government. I hope that Trump really make right on that party. In January 20th, Ross can be departed from that prison. He been wrongfully living in for too long. Riding pardon in pedos, but that's for another song.
Okay, yeah, we got to right the wrong. Free Ross, free Ross, free Ross now. Yes, we got to right the wrong. He's been locked up now for far too long.
The anger I felt wasn't hurting them, but it was hurting me. So, for the sake of my sanity, I had to let it go.
Let it go. And once I met his mother at a place called Jackalope. Life determined to free him, she still had lots of hope. Read a letter from her son and let me tell you what he wrote. Made some tears run down my face and formed a lump in my throat. Said in a way the greatest gift he'd been given was being locked in prison. Spent nights and days meditating became the only mission. Externally in a cage while mentally free. And that's the opposite of most people in our society. Externally they're living free. In their head they are a slave. The mind control it justifies putting others in the cage. Have strength, Lynn, have strength, oh yes. You'll be united with your son one day. Hey, we pray, reunited with us today. Hey, we pray, reunited with us one day. Yeah, we got to right the wrong. Free Ross, free Ross, free Ross now. Yes, we got to right the wrong. He's been locked up now for far too long. Yes, we got to right the free Ross now, free Ross now, free Ross now. Yes, we got to right the wrong. He's been locked up now for far too long. Yeah.
You are making those dreams a reality.
Yo, it's Prezence and High Res.
To me, we're all one big family.
Wow.
Yeah, so that the samples of Ross speaking right there was actually, Ross is free. That was actually Derek's interview of him when he was in prison. Derek actually did an interview, probably, I don't know what year that was, maybe 2013, 2014, something like that. and got a phone interview with Ross. And so I actually sampled some of the clips of that where he was talking about, people describing, what it's like to actually lose your freedom and to be locked up in a cage, and then actually some of the experiences he had where he would see someone get freed from a life sentence, and like how it would make him weep of joy, the relief and it was so profoundly healing watching someone get freed from a life sentence. And I think it was his actual ability to visualize that and see other people go through that maybe was part of him creating that in the field for himself, so that he was able to be freed of that life sentence. So anyways, that song was a little tribute to him. I've never met him. I have met his mom, as I alluded to in the third verse. But hopefully I get to meet him at some point soon. And yeah, hopefully I can get High Res on a video, because he's got a massive following and has done a lot of great work. He's definitely leaned a little bit towards the right wing kind of statist model, but I think he's slowly breaking out of that. And so it's cool to see a massive artist like him that's willing to support this small cause again. And yeah.
Wow, such a great song to talk about. Even though, his situation resolved, there's plenty of people still imprisoned throughout
Exactly.
the world. So it's not just about this one individual. I like to think, back to, and since we're both fans of Mark Passio's work, this idea of when one suffers, we all suffer, and
Yep.
just activating care for everyone that's imprisoned. And I would argue, we're with birth, quote unquote, certificates under maritime law, we're all born into this prison system. Some of us, of course, I don't mean to detract from those that have been imprisoned, because that's a very definite experience. But, we all have levels of tyranny that we're dealing with. There's a spectrum to it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And it's amazing too how they've been able to get the left wing so with all of this kind of woke agenda, which I think a lot of it is starting to fall through the cracks. But we played a show in Seattle recently, and we had some people calling us out for, oh, how dare you white boys throw around the word slavery on Juneteenth.
Oh
It's
my
like
God.
we're fighting for the freedom from people of all forms of slavery, from mental slavery, from physical slavery, from debt slavery, financial slavery. Passio talks about how taxation, if it's 50% of a person's income being stolen, is that not slavery? 100% is slavery, but is 50% no longer slavery? What about 25%? What about 10%? What about even 1%? If 1% of your income is being involuntarily stolen, does that not constitute slavery? And it's like, of course it does. And so it's amazing how they've been able to get all of the left wing to just narrow-mindedly focus on this one, it is slavery. It's one facet of slavery that's horrible and it should never be tolerated. But to just completely disregard all other forms of slavery, and especially to, call out someone based on their skin color, white, it's like to not be able to call that out is pretty funny to me. And so I just
It's
think
ridiculous.
there's a lot of forms of mind control that are still active, a lot of institutionalized belief systems that need to be dissolved immediately. And so, yeah, I'm just grateful to you all for putting this event together so we can push this message forward. And just keep speaking the truth and shining our light.
Thank you so much for this very exclusive interview and performance. We're so grateful that you are joining our amazing lineup of artists, both online and in person. For the in-person show, that's also going to be live streamed for free on online. But if you want to come in person, we have tickets available now. Originally, we set it at $33 in honor of 33, aka Derek Rose, who, is also in the headliners. But once we added Prezence, once we added Tatiana Moros, great country singer, and Apophysis, we now have 8 headliners. I just called Arnold's Family Fun Center yesterday. We are on from 3 to 11, 8 hours. So it's going to be a long day. day. Yeah, so we have 8 headliners, 3 hours. I moved to the childcare option. It's an all ages show, but if you have a 5 to 14-year-old who wants to take advantage of the go-karts and laser tags because they're not feeling like standing around watching a bunch of adults drink beer while they're just like listening to music that, whatever, like they can enjoy the go-karts, and the parents can enjoy, a beer in the all ages show, and enjoy freedom-minded music, or sober. I really enjoy. I've been to like ecstatic dance events. Like I enjoy myself sober too. So you don't need to, enjoy music. You can enjoy music in any way you like.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely be ripping the go-karts for sure. I love go-karts. It'll be fun. And yeah, looking forward to being there. It's my first time in Philly, so I'm excited to check out Philly for the first time. And just looking forward to connecting with all of you all. And yeah, it should be really fun. Passio's going to be there. Derek's going to be there. And lots of other freedom artists, Tatiana Moroz, and a lot of other awesome freedom artists. So we're looking forward to it. Derek and I have a couple collaborations that we're going to sing, like Taxation is Theft. I held that one off today because we're going to sing that live. And one of his tunes called Unwritten, we're going to sing that live. And yeah, it's going to be great. So thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.